We'll talk about the must-know info to get your 2024 Maverick.
Yes, we're also going to be talking about some important points that we really need to clarify what's going on with the automobile market. So I work and have a few small, well, the part of the business is a co-op, so I have a good portion bought into the co-op, but it's a small portion of the business. But I work at a dealership. It's a franchise dealership that sells new Fords as well as used vehicles of all the brands. And I've got some information because I want to clarify things using data and facts. So we're going to be doing a little BS busting, aka don't be fooled. And what else are we going to talk about tonight?
We'll talk about maybe a little of the brand. Oh yeah, we'll talk about Ford too. People say on YouTube that Ford can sell truck, so we'll see if it's true.
We're also going to be talking about how lots are full. Therefore, prices are going to drop 80%. We'll see about that one. We'll put some truth to that and do some predictions, but predictions that are really based on current data to help you know what's going to be going on with the new market as well as the used market coming up. Because I really want to help answer the question, should I buy right now or should I buy later? Or a lot later. So we'll cover that. We want everyone to be prepared. We want everyone to save thousands of dollars. That's the goal here. And we're also going to be talking about, what else will we be talking about?
Maybe we'll go check with the other brands, so Jeep, Ram, and Dodge.
Because, well, it looks like they can't sell trucks as well, trucks and SUVs, and looks can be deceiving. So let's make sure we dive deep into the data, see what's really going on. And I've got a little surprise because, I'll keep the surprise for a little later, but data, you really have to sometimes look deep into it because data can be misleading on the surface, and sometimes you have to get more data to really know what's going on. And of course, what our senses tell us are often misleading. A lot of science experiments done more in college because I gave up science when it came to university, but you can tell in a lot of science experiments that the senses often mislead us. So let's jump into the data and actually just go beyond the first layer to really get down to it. And we're going to be talking about, of course, is it deal time? I want to share with everyone whether it's deal time and whether the deals are going to get better, and used wholesale, what's going on with the used wholesale, because there's a 4% decrease in the used wholesale market just for the month of June. 4% in 1 month. Now, are those numbers, are those savings on the dealership lots yet? Well, a few very smart dealers, yes. And not so smart, maybe greedy dealers, no. So dealers need to stay up to date with prices at wholesale, at the auction houses. They need to stay up to date with those prices, not just when they're buying, when they're offering trade-in values, or when they're buying at auction or buying them from, Marie's Maverick, for example. They need to focus not just on paying her current pricing, which has gone down by 4%, but really the prices on the lot should also go down by 4%. So I'll give you some tips and tricks to save thousands. So I'm Johnny from Johnny's Car Care and Reviews. We've got my once a week co-host, Marie, here. Now, if you don't like an hour long, usually these lives are between 45 minutes to 2 hours. If you don't like that format, a good portion, 80% of the show will be broken up into little mini episodes as we cover these very important topics to help BS bust. I don't want anyone getting fooled, and I want everyone to potentially save thousands of dollars. So right off, let's put the pedal to the metal and cover probably everyone's need to know right now information. And that's on the Ford Maverick. And that truly is need to know information because it's go time. July 10th is the day today that we get the order guides. Now, I thought I'd have the order guides with me, but they're not out yet. So originally the show was just purely going to be going through the entire order guides, all of it. And I can't do that tonight. So I'm sorry, folks, but I still have actually probably what's more pertinent information because when you go to your dealer, a smart dealer, they're going to have the order guide in front of you when you go to order. And please write this down, July 17th, 2023, so next Monday. That's when you need to be putting in an order, and some dealers will do pre-orders, and I think pre-orders are good because they will alleviate the rush of customers going in July 10th. July 17th. And what's more is you don't want people going in July 17th and there to be a mix-up between old orders and new orders. I think ideally July 17th, before the dealership opens, all the carryovers need to be carried over. They need to be put in the system first, in case a dealer gets mixed up with priority codes, because really the best priority codes should be given, of course, 10, 11, 12, and maybe 13 and 14 should all be based on how long someone has already waited for their Maverick. But I've got good news. Ford has reassured dealers in the information. They've made it pretty darn clear, and you can actually go over to Maverick Truck Club. So let's go check out Maverick Truck Club together. So pretty easy. Google is a great BS buster. And Maverick Truck Club is an excellent source of information. So we got Maverick Truck Club. Let's see, 2024 Ford Maverick order guide. And Ashtung as the user that actually did a great job of really making all the concise information in regards to what's going on. So the order guide, yeah, it says it's going to be available. You click, it's not there. My internal system in both French and English, I tried to do the hack. Maybe it's available in French. I don't mind reading French. It wasn't available in French, and it wasn't available in English. But we still have some really important information that we can cover. So here we go. Ashtung took the time to really summarize. So you can get all this written down. You probably should print this out and have it as your written, Maverick Bible. I don't mean to be sacrilegious in any way, but these are important. They're like Moses's tablets, we'll say, and they're pretty concise too. I don't want to call them the 10 commandments for the Maverick, but they kind of do summarize almost into 10 points. By the way, I just want to thank everyone for making it to the live show. We love having people. Marie needs things to do during these shows because I'm a talkaholic. Since I quit alcohol, I talk too much, and Marie likes to talk less, but likes to follow what's going on in the chat. So you're entertaining her, you're entertaining and informing each other, so that's great. And I reminded Marie that when there's pertinent information on the topic, that someone has added data or information to throw it in. And I see actually Brandon from Car Questions Answered is in the chat, or at least was earlier. So thank you very much for making it to the show. Really enjoy your style of doing things. You go really into the field at the car auctions and really show us what's going on right at the car auction. I think that is absolutely necessary. You need to see that first, primary source of information and data, and then ideally, we jump in and we add data to that. And it's hard to do both. It's hard to have the time to both. I don't have the time to be at the auction houses. We've got other employees that do that. So it's good to have both primary sources and then also the data, mix them together, and that's when you get the perfect combo of really what's going on, which we will cover after we cover the Maverick information. So you'll get your Maverick Truck Club. You need to just type in 2024 Ford Maverick order guide, and on my Google, it's the second thing that shows up. This is a fantastic thread. It's the source was well, I won't say who the source was because I don't want to get anyone in trouble if they weren't supposed to leak this. I don't know, but it's out there. So important details. There won't be any price protection, but there will be special rebates if you ordered before the Maverick sold out. So we go back to September 2022, and I believe it was September 15th, the precise date, and we had 5 days. If I recall correctly, it was from the 15th to the 20th. If you ordered within those dates, you're going to have a special rebate. Your dealer can get assistance in knowing how to find that special rebate, because they're going to be a little nervous if they give you, like, you got $32.50 I sent you the picture on your phone today, but
Yeah.
you got your cash rebate. That cash wasn't your cash, it was the dealer's cash, because the dealer temporarily, well, for about probably 4 to 6 weeks, put out $3,250, which is impressive because that's a risk to take. If they don't do their claim right, well, the profit margin on your Maverick was about $1,600 Canadian. And that's not profit, that's revenue. So that's before you pay the electricity, before you pay the employees, the taxes, the interest rates. It's your top revenue before expenses. So, I haven't looked at it, haven't looked specifically at it, but I bet after you pay all those things, there's maybe, $800 left. Well, minus your $3,250 if they don't get it rebated, and they are in deep water. That's how dealerships can go bankrupt. So they have a hotline, they can call Ford, and Ford will walk them through how to do that process. They can also send an email if they don't have time to be on the phone and do it live, and then they can just follow instructions. So folks, do expect to get a rebate. Push to get a rebate. Don't accept that you get told there is no rebate if you're between the 15th and the 20th of September. Now, if you're after, or if something went wrong with your order, such as it not being properly COVP'd, you're not going to get that rebate. So that's the tough thing. If you have a proof that you got COVP'd, it's a sheet that says confirmed order, then you're definitely entitled to that rebate. Make sure you get it. If you don't have the sheet, but many times over your dealer had told you by phone or email that they had confirmed your order, you're good to go, folks. Now, Marie, has anything popped up in the chat that I need to address?
Yeah, we have a little question. Scott Hayton says, ordered XLT FX4 on October 3rd. Haven't got a VIN or confirmation from Ford or the dealer. Do I lose order in July?
Okay, so that worries me. That means if you're in the USA, if you're in Canada, you're still with before the sold out dates, from what I can tell from my personal orders. But if you're in the United States, you missed out. You're part of the sold out time period. So after September 19th or 20th, we went into the sold out period. Ford declared the Ford Maverick, at least for the US, sold out. We hadn't completely yet sold out all our vehicles because, well, our system didn't work just September 15th. If I recall correctly, it took a good 2 weeks. It took about 2 weeks before it started to work. And I think I was the first Canadian to find out and discover that it was working because I was testing it basically every, before getting into work, lunch period, end of the day. I was driving my dealership crazy, being like, can you try pushing Marie's order, which was my oldest order. And then as soon as it went through, I pushed through all my prepped orders that night. And that's what your dealer needs to be doing. Ideally taking a pre-order or pushing through your July 17th order. Please do it on the first day. Very important. Mm-hmm. That's what we need to do. Now, Eric, you're outside of the date, so you won't have a special rebate. And if they didn't confirm your order, good chances are the best your dealership can do is put you a priority 10, knowing that they should have confirmed your order. Now, make sure this time they do confirm your order, or order at a dealership that will confirm your order. Because we're going to be talking in the BS We're going to be talking in the BS Busters section, and don't be fooled what the consequence, there's been this rumor, or there's a bit of on a major channel, they were they didn't hint, they said that they think Ford is sending Mavericks to dealerships as inventory instead of fulfilling customers' orders. And I can tell you, at my dealership and all the local dealerships and other dealerships I'm in contact with, so a lot of dealerships, that's just not the case. But not all customers take their Ford Mavericks. It's not because it's bad, which has been insinuated for other models, that Lightnings and Mach-E's aren't being taken up by orders because people are just realizing that they're not good vehicles and they're way overpriced. We'll get into that for the Don't Be Fooled section. I'll stay on topic.
Yeah, and we have another question speaking about that. Eugenio Gant asked, what paperwork do I need to walk away with from the dealer, sorry, on July 17 to have as proof that my order was placed?
Now that's a fantastic question, and that perfect timing to actually cover that. Thank you for asking it. Thank you for covering it, Marie. You felt it was the right time. So yes, you're going to need, I'm going to say, I think in advance, make sure you do 5 things. So make sure these 5 things occur. First of all, you can phone or email to test out different dealerships if you need to make sure that you will get MSRP, that there won't be added dealer fees or dealer fees that you feel acceptable for your area, because we have to remember, while dealer fees, finding a dealership in my area with no dealer fees isn't that hard. My dealership has no dealer fees. My dealership has no forced accessories. My dealership has no forced service plans. If you want a Maverick, you get these things. You don't have to get these things. You can get just the Maverick. We sell Mavericks. We don't, we're not there to force anyone into having, paying, $2,000 for, paper fees. Yes, the Maverick doesn't make dealerships very much money. If dealerships only sold Mavericks, I don't know if they'd survive versus the price of interest rates on the floor and electricity, heating, taxes and all that. I don't think they'd survive. But what you need to make sure is that you're getting a good deal for your general area. And if you're willing to go outside of your area and have the vehicle delivered, well, just weigh out the cost of that. So you need to make sure that you're satisfied with the deal you're going to be looking at. So that's the first thing. See if you can work with your dealership. Once you find out that you can work with them, well, then it's time to move on to the next step. And the next step is going to be to also make sure that they know how to COVP. They know how to confirm the order. And with your confirmed order, you need to walk away with, and I have some of it underneath here, but I don't think I'm going to go digging for it. So bear with me without the visual representation. But you need a build sheet that they sign and you sign, because it has the price, it has the equipment. When you sign, you're saying this is the right vehicle to send off to Ford. And when they sign, get them to also write or type out that they're going to sell it to you at the price up top, as long as it comes in as a 2024. If you're a carryover, if you're a 23 that has yet to be served your Maverick, make sure they also sign that they're going to give you, it's okay if they don't write price protection, because technically there isn't price protection. It's a private offer. So Marie didn't get price protection. She got a private offer. So inventory amount. And car questions answered. Thank you very much for answering people's questions in the live chat. That is fantastic. Really appreciate that, friend. Really very kind of you. Now, other things you're going to want to walk away with. Not every dealer, some dealers will say they can't give you a lease offer or can't give you a purchase offer. I'd ask for it. I'd almost demand it, because the reason they don't want to give that to you is because they're kind of afraid. And I understand that they'd be afraid, because if they sign a purchase offer, a lease offer, at least in my region legally, if they've signed it and haven't also signed another sheet that explains, for example, that they can't guarantee price, for example, if it comes in 2025, well, if they sign just that sheet and don't have you sign anything else, you could push pretty hard and even take it to court saying you signed here that you'd sell me a Maverick at this price. Now, it's not my fault you didn't give me my 2024. So now you have to sell me my 25 at the price of the 24. That's why some dealerships won't want to sign that sheet. But I'd say they ideally will be prepared having you sign another sheet. So locally, we sign another sheet that says we don't know when you'll get your ordered vehicle, and when it comes in, we can't guarantee the price. Now, of course, we guarantee the price on other sheets circling. I highlight 2024. I say, look, if you come in as a 2024, you're going to pay MSRP, and I never mind writing it down and signing, saying you're not going to be charged any dealer fees. There won't be any forced accessories. You will get the correct price. If you go online, the worst case scenario is you'll go online, you'll build the vehicle when your vehicle comes in, and that's the price you'll pay. If I can, because sometimes things change with time. But if I can, protect interest rate and the original price, well, then that's what you get. I usually can, but sometimes things don't always, you can't predict the future. Supposed to be able to, but sometimes there's little exceptions, such as a model transfer year. There's also a small other little exceptions, like if the vehicle never got properly confirmed, which can happen. These things can happen. So make sure your dealership knows how to confirm. So that answers that question. Those are the things you should really walk away with. Signed build sheet, signed purchase or lease offer that shows you the monthly payment, shows you the financed amount, and shows you the interest rate. So really a detailed sheet. Build sheet shows you the entire vehicle. Now, am I forgetting anything?
Oh, I guess you have
That would be
everything, I guess.
That would be everything. Now, you can ask for 2 other things, and if they're really on the ball, they'll be able to provide it. The 4th and 5th thing they could send you after the fact, so the next day or day after, usually within 1 to 2 days, they will get a sheet that is a proper confirmed order sheet, and it says customer confirmed order document. They could send you a photo of that, as well as the DORA. Now, the DORA, maybe they'll only want to send you part of the picture of that, but they could send that to you, and then you really know this thing got ordered properly, it's in the system, and it's been confirmed. Then you're A-okay, you're ready to go. Now, that's what you need to know that you're safe and you've ordered at a dealership that really knows what they're up to. Now, I'm going to break this up after the live, I'll break this up into mini episodes. So that covers really what you need to have when you order your 2024 Maverick. Now let's talk about just price increases. So price increases. Welcome to the 2024 Ford Maverick price increase coverage. This is what we all need to know in regards to prices increasing. So we've got some price increases going on, and we are going to talk about what Mavericks are going to get built, which ones are more likely to get built, because if you don't get built as a 2024, Ford is making it really, really clear, no 24 to 2025 conversion price protection or special offer. And they're making it really clear this time, and they did last time. But then they also didn't tell us what our allotments were. So it wasn't really a dealership's fault for overselling their allocations or allotments, because you had to kind of guess, and you don't want to underguess. So, you don't want to underguess, and then it's sold out, and then Ford goes, well, you could have had 80 Mavericks, but you only put 60 in the system, so the other 20 we'll give to another dealership. It's a competitive world. So what did dealerships do? They made sure they, easily covered what they're going to get. That caused problems. This time, Ford is supposed to tell dealerships what their allocations are going to be. And they've also made it very clear, do not sell over your allocations. Or at least if you know you're getting 80, customer 81, tell them, be a miracle if you got built as a 2024, but I can put you in the system, and maybe, but at least, I can put you in the system and keep you in my personal dealership line to know that for 2025, you're the first on the list. I think giving people honest service is so important. That also goes for YouTube. If you're on YouTube, it's so hard, because it's hard to know, what's the truth. And sometimes there's not one solid truth. Sometimes there is gray area. And it's tough, but that's why here we use data as much as possible. And we'll get to that as soon as we finish the Maverick coverage. So price increases, we know we're not going to get protected. So get your Ford Maverick built. We'll talk about distribution in a moment, but basically I can tell you, if you order an XL and you're not a carryover, you're probably not getting an XL, because almost all, if not all, the Ford Maverick XLs are going to the carryover people, because it's going to be 15% of production. And a lot of people are currently waiting for an XL, because for 2023, XL demand was high and supply was low. Now, the 2023 EcoBoost front wheel drive is now standard on the XL. The 2.5 liter hybrid is now an optional powertrain. So that's a huge change. And it's going to cost, there's an increase in that. It's basically $1,500. So I drove your Maverick today because unfortunately
you have fun?
I had a lot of fun. And I ordered a Ford Bronco, green, the color I wanted, wild track, soft top, but I figured wild tracks are so backed up that it'll take 10, 12 months easily. Well, whatever it may be, in Canada, maybe salaries, people aren't as car crazy in Canada. We don't have as many auto enthusiasts, not as many people, not as many successful large business owners, not as many millionaires. So there's an allotment of clearly in Canada for wild track Broncos, and it got built. I ordered it July 30th, and it got built pretty quickly, and it's going to show up this week. So we had we ordered March 30th. Yeah. Sorry, did I say
you said July?
Oh, sorry. I ordered it March 30th, figuring it would take a year, 10 months to a year to get in. It's getting built. So we had your Maverick hybrid evaluated. I loved driving your Maverick. It's so smooth. I love taking off in quiet mode. John Ashton, thank you so much for the $5. Now that's really appreciated because one, that's American money, so that's like $8 Canadian, and $8 Canadian will almost get you 200 kilometers. It'll get you about 140 miles of driving in a Ford Maverick. So your vehicle is 3 times more economic than how I was driving the Bronco. When we had our 2 Broncos, the Sasquatch Bronco, I was getting 15 if I really tried hard. I was mostly getting about 16, 17 liters per 100 kilometers because I have a heavy foot, and you're getting 5.5 liters per 100 kilometers. So the difference is about 44 miles per gallon versus 15 miles per gallon. Huge difference, almost triple the gas consumption. But we have to get the Maverick evaluated because the Lightning has lost too much. The Lightning has lost a lot of value. There's not everyone is taking their Lightning orders once they get in because a lot of people ordered these and weren't aware of all the facts and data of the vehicle, which wildly, when the Lightning was originally released, I talked about how it would I could almost guarantee that when towing the weight of the vehicle, you'd lose half to 60% of your autonomy, and that in the winter, you would lose about 30 to 50% of the autonomy of the vehicle. Now, a lot of people aren't taking these vehicles when they get in because they say, are you crazy? I've seen the YouTube videos. The Lightning's bad. It's horrible. You get half the autonomy. Now, I'd say the only way the Lightning is potentially horrible this year is if you rely only on the USA electrical grid public charging. I love my Lightning in Quebec because we have big chargers everywhere. It's wild. They're everywhere. But in the States, I have a friend at the dealership. He brought an electric. He brought his wife's electric Hyundai down to go to the ocean in the States. And they lost an entire day because the big chargers were constantly broken. And were worse than the big chargers being constantly broken, non-functional. They could only find 110 volts. They end up spending at the Tilden factory outlets 4 hours charging at 110 volts. It only gave them 70 kilometers, which is like 47 miles, so that they could then just finally get to a big charger that actually was working. And of course, the shopping mall's big chargers weren't working because they're happy to keep you there for hours and hours spending. And he did end up spending a lot of, maybe that's why. But even the shopping mall's big chargers, they weren't functional. So it can be a nightmare if you're relying only on the public networks. So yes, car questions answered. You are American. Oh my goodness. Okay, you gave a tip. I was thinking, yes, your show is American goodness, but that is a ton of money. Thank you very much. That is wild. Thank you very much. That's more than a full tank
Wow.
for her Maverick. And
by the way, Outsider Review said, "Come down, Johnny. It's $6.64 in Canadian, the $5 US." I guess we think that the Canadian dollar doesn't worth that much.
I like to be hard on Canada. The exchange rate's 30%, but I like to pretend like it's worth, I like to pretend it's the peso. So
thank you so much.
thank you very much, Brandon. That's very kind. So I hope you'll all check out Car Questions Answered. And I think, sharing information like this and working together, that's what makes YouTube better and better. Because unfortunately, what you often see with big news channels, really the main media, you'll have one story go, and by the end of the day, everyone's covered the same material, the same way. There's no disagreement. There's no one's challenging anyone. They're just regurgitating the same thing. So if the first media source got it wrong, everyone gets it wrong, and everyone across, the United States or Canada gets the same idea put in their head. Well, we all draw our own conclusions, but all the data we are given is pushed towards that. So I think it's one great thing about YouTube is we can openly debate, we can openly question each other, and hopefully, Brandon was incredible at Car Questions Answered. He came by and he's like, thanks for disagreeing with me, in a non-bashful manner, because unfortunately so many people are bashful, and I'm only bashful when I get really, really frustrated, and I always try to avoid that because I don't want to make anyone feel bad. I just want to serve. I want the right information to go out. I want society in general to be improved and be better. So I need to work on myself and be better. So even when I'm frustrated, I need to be, cool, collected, and polite, because it takes a whole lot more strength. Anyone can fly off the handle, and it takes a whole lot of strength to be cool when things are hot around you. So, Outsider Reviews, thank you very much. That's very kind. Don't think I'll be getting the Canadian ambassador role anytime soon, but I do appreciate you donating that on me. Very kind. So, major product. Sorry for the rant, for the side panel I went off. Major product offering changes on the 2024 Ford Maverick. You're going to have a wonderful time editing, because we'll just edit out that entire section. So you want to note that. Yeah. We'll leave these wild rants just for the lives, folks. Now, in the edited version, we'll get right back on track and say how, they got rid of the hybrid as standard. It's frustrating, and it makes sense. So why is it frustrating? Well, it's frustrating because getting a hybrid and not being charged extra was an incredible deal on Ford's part. Traditionally, manufacturers like to charge $4,000 to $8,000 more to add a battery. And it's wild because I remember, 10 years ago, if something was hybrid, you're looking at an extra $8,000. I'm speaking in Canadian, maybe it was, $5,500, $8,000 US dollars, but they'd charge thousands of dollars more to save a bit of fuel. So I've spent the last decade doing math with my calculator with customers, because who asked for hybrids traditionally 10 years ago? Often, they're grandparents. And they're thinking they're on a fixed budget, and they're thinking, well, what's the monthly payment? And oh boy, gas. And unfortunately, they would too often get roped, not by me, but generally get roped into the idea that they needed a hybrid, when they did, often 3, 4, 5, sometimes a big whopping 10,000 kilometers a year. So often grandparents do 3,000 to 5,000 miles per year, and we're spending an extra $8,000 for the hybrid. So it was unfortunate, because sometimes we often forget there's a horrible cost to current batteries. And I've got a slide for that, but I'll leave it for that. Don't be fooled. But it's a really good slide. Really, we'll all laugh at Greta Thunberg together, because it picks on her in a nice way. But anyways, it was an incredible deal that Ford was giving hybrid standard, no extra fee. But it was too good to be true. Too good to be true in the sense that we all saw it being an amazing deal. we jumped on it. Ford, if they could have made hundreds of thousands of these per year, well, that's what was needed. That the demand was a couple 100,000 Maverick hybrids per year easily. 79% of people ordered and asked for a hybrid Maverick. When Ford recently are able to do a 50-50 split, month of May, they built 11,051 Mavericks, and now they've built for June 6,539, if my memory is correct. So unfortunately, production almost doubled, and now production has almost cut in half again. 50% can be hybrids. Folks, if you ask for a hybrid and you're a carryover, you're going to get your hybrid. Almost guaranteed you're going to get your hybrid. But if you're a new order and you're day one, yeah, you might get the hybrid. But if you're, let's say this thing sells out, whether it sells out within 3 days or 10 days, if you're past the midway point, I can almost guarantee you're not going to get a hybrid. Because if we just do some quick math, if again, let's presume that 79% of customers order hybrids again, and Ford can now build, I think we'll get to it, but 35% is roughly the distribution for hybrids. You can tell they're going to sell out pretty quickly. They'll sell out about, 3-4 times faster. So if there's 10 days of Maverick selling, you're going to have about safely 2 days to get them. If there's only 5 days, well, you only have 1 safe day for ordering a hybrid and actually getting it. So a lot of those, and because a lot of those hybrids too are going to be going to carryovers. So if you want a Ford Maverick and you're a new orderer, get the EcoBoost. Fantastic fuel economy on the highway, very similar to the hybrid. And now the hybrid does cost more money no matter what trim you throw it on. It's pretty much $1,500. Now, being the optional powertrain, what is it going to cost? $1,595. So let's cover price. XL front wheel drive gas, $24,995. XL all-wheel drive gas, $27,215. XLT front-wheel drive gas, $27,910. XLT all-wheel drive gas, $30,130. Now, if you're into the Lariat, you like all that extra equipment, do know the Lariat is much more equipped now as standard. Its standard equipment has been increased. It comes with the Lariat luxury package, so there's no standard Lariat versus an upgraded Lariat. There's just Lariat. And then you've got, your options. You can throw on a few options. We'll cover that when we go over the order guide. But your Lariat all-wheel drive gas is $36,450. Now, we can note that I'm not seeing a Lariat front-wheel drive gas. So the States now, like Canada, in Canada we can't have an EcoBoost Lariat. There you go. In the States, now it's the same. XL front-wheel drive hybrid, $26,495. Marie, I'm sorry, you haven't talked in a while. I know you've been working on the chat.
Yeah, we have a lot of questions tonight.
But I'll let you cover the next two if that's all right.
Okay, these two?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for the XLT front-wheel drive hybrid, 29,410, and the Lariat front-wheel drive hybrid, 35,730.
So Tim will, while he's mowing the lawn and listening to you through his earbuds, he'll finally have heard your voice and he'll be like, "Oh, Marie is on the show." You can all see her, but Marie's not just eye candy. She was a commercial director. They've got different names for them, an F&I. Essentially, she was the person that did the after sale products and information. So extended warranty, service contracts, interest rates, all that good stuff. It can be good stuff. It can also be horrible stuff. So you need to check out the price versus what it covers. So notable product changes. You've got the modular, for the XLT, you've got the modular hard drop-in bed liner. It's now included with the XLT luxury package. There's been a lot of criticisms on this because, well, one comment I got was, well, that's so 1980s. Don't manufacturers know that there'll be dirt and grime between the paint and the plastic drop-in, that it's going to rub? You know what I say to that? It's going to rub. And yes, after 20 years, if you remove your plastic drop-in bed liner, you know what you're going to see? You're going to see a bed that's perfectly prepped and ready to have a spray and bed liner shoot it. Because when you do a spray and bed liner, you actually have to completely scuff and rough up the paint and then sand it. They basically take pretty much all the paint off, most of the paint off anyways, before shooting a spray and bed liner. But if you live in an area with a lot of salt and you're worried about that friction, well, you know what? You could use your plastic for 2-3 years. You'll be safe for 2-3 years. And over 2-3 years, you're going to get nicks, scratches, stains, paint, oil on your plastic bed liner. Well, then why not then, when it's looking pretty horrible, either you're going to switch into a plug-in hybrid Maverick or an all-wheel drive, traditional all-wheel drive hybrid system for the Maverick. By then, come 3 years from now, I'm confident we'll have it, because I think we're going to get at least one of the two, either an all-wheel drive hybrid or a plug-in. One of the two, probably all-wheel drive hybrid first for the mid-model refresh. I'm pretty darn confident for that. From the beginning, I've always said, well, why wouldn't they do it on the mid-model refresh when it's time to regain some excitement on the product? The only thing that could throw that off is supply versus demand. Demand is incredibly high. Ford builds these in one factory. Yes, there are a lot more F-150s sitting around on yards. It's not because Ford doesn't want to build Mavericks. It's because there's two factories that for decades have been making F-150s and producing them. An F-150, these factories can produce an F-150 every second. Every second one's coming off the line. So it's incredible the speed at which they can build F-150s. They build almost 1 million of them per year. Two factories, huge factories doing this. Now the Maverick, some people say, how did Ford not know it was going to be a sales success? Well, when they got rid of the Ranger because sales weren't that great in 2011. Honda Ridgeline sales kind of sucked the last decade, selling 30, 35, 28, well, selling 25 to 35,000 units of the Honda Ridgeline. Those aren't fantastic numbers to write home about. They brought back the Ranger, and yes, the first year they sold almost 100,000, but then sales were around 70,000 right before the Maverick was unveiled. So to think that they build somewhere between Honda Ridgeline and Ford Ranger numbers, it made sense. What they didn't know is that we've kind of gotten maybe a little tired of how big trucks have gotten, and more so, probably more, how much they cost. Well, I love having a big truck. I love having the Lightning. I keep telling you went to the dentist appointment with our son Winston today, and you said, oh, well, he made a mess in the car with his muddy feet. And I said, that's not a problem. It's the Lightning. Just wipe it off. And you said what?
It's my Maverick, so it's not that.
And why did you take your Maverick?
Because it's small to park. Yeah. It's easier because it doesn't have biggest place at the vet. So yeah.
So
easier to park.
Small truck, more fuel efficient. Traditionally, historically, in the automobile world, smaller vehicles have been popular when budgets get smaller and when gas prices increase. And when the overall size of vehicles, like cost of vehicles, are getting too big. So in the 1970s, vehicles were whales on the road. Just these big behemoths, big old long limousines and tractors going around. And well, the fuel crisis and fuel costs brought along that people accepted that horsepower got cut back by 3-4 times. You went from having 300 to 500 horsepower in vehicles to having 50 to 150. Well, sorry, the Corvette in 1980 something had 186 horsepower, and it's like, woo, look at all that horsepower. But they did that because of people's budgets. So Ford maybe misread how badly we want affordable vehicles that are also useful. So, not a 1990 Toyota Tercel. Can't do my gardening with that vehicle. And for the Lariat luxury package is now standard. The spray and bed liner is now included in Lariat luxury package. I think that's great, except for the last 3 years, spray and bed liners have been hard to get. Russia is one of the main primary sources for everything that's plastic and also for some oils. So we'll see how that works out, but hopefully spray and bed liner, it won't be an issue as it has been. The US is incredible at producing oil, so let's hope that we get all the product that we need for that. But it was a major issue in the last 2 years. Wireless charger is now standard.
Wow.
And because drop-in bed liner and spray and bed liner are going to the packages, and one's not even a package anymore. The spray and bed liner for the Lariat package is just part of the Lariat package. So I definitely would not order a spray and bed liner on my non-Lariat, because the reason I'd avoid ordering it is because if there's a material, a quantity missing for that spray and bed liner, they're going to put it on the package. They're not going to give it for the standalone. They'll prioritize, it's not even a package. They'll prioritize it to the Lariat because the Lariat has to have it. Whereas an order that doesn't have to have it but did order it will be pushed off to the side. So that's why I wouldn't have a spray and bed liner on a non-Lariat order. The wireless charger is now standard for the Lariat. Bliss and lane keeping system are now standard for the Lariat. I think that's fantastic. Copilot 360 Assist with the stop and go, lane centering, and evasive steering assist with rear park sensors is now also standard on the Lariat. Mirrors are now going to be painted, the skull cap, so that's the little cover over the mirrors. They're going to be body color. They're going to be black instead of body color. So think about that when you're picking out your color. Think about how those Lariat mirror covers are going to be black, and think if that's going to work with your palette, if you think that looks good. I think it does, but that's up for debate. Now the Tremor now includes a hood/door decal. So there's no decal package costing last year, what was it, $1,500-$1,600, whatever the price was. I said I didn't feel it was worth it. Well, now it's cool. Ford's just throwing it on the Tremor package, but there's still the delete option. Ford realizes we like choice, we like liberty, we want to get to choose. Deleted colors. This is going to hurt. Area 51, your color, gone.
That's sad.
Avalanche gray, gone. Alto blue, gone. Cyber orange, gone. New colors, azure gray.
Looks almost the same as the Area 51.
Yeah, we both got mixed up. We were at Newport, Vermont. We went to the East Side for dinner. Highly recommend it. East Side restaurant in Vermont. Support local folks. Mm-hmm. And we stopped at Haynes Ford, and we both said, hey, look at that Area 51. And no, it was an azure gray Lightning.
Yeah, it was pretty the same. It's just a little bit darker, but it's subtle.
Those are your new colors, folks. And we all recall from pretty early on, I always enjoyed saying, what did I always enjoy saying? I said Ford needs to get their marketing team on the honesty train, that we won't be lied to. Ford Maverick is orange. The Mach-E is orange. The Bronco is orange. Stop calling it,
No, it's
yellow. Sorry. I've always said it's yellow. It's school bus yellow. And it looks great. And it's okay that it's school bus yellow. But there's your proof, folks. There's a school bus. There's a Maverick.
My shirt is yellow. It's a little bit different.
It's a little bit different. That is yellow with a hint of orange in it. The first word shouldn't be, the first word is actually cyber orange for some models. So anywho, it's gone. It's too bad. We loved it on the Bronco. We think it's a great choice on the Maverick. And if you've got one, you've got something pretty rare there, folks. So let's just wrap up this Maverick news and get on to the rest of the news. I'm not going to call these constraints because they're both constraints and also a way to get a Bronco. So now we'll make this into its own episode. How to get your Ford Maverick built. 2024 Ford Maverick ordering, folks, please keep this in mind. The key constraints versus commodities, what's actually available. The XL is going to be 20% of production. The XLT is going to be 53% of production, and the Lariat is going to be 27% of production. What I can tell you from experience, from orders, and of course it differs a little from area to area. If you live in a very rich, affluential area, maybe they're going to have a lot of demand for Lariats. But in my area, there wasn't a lot of demand for Lariats. XLT, also a safe order. XL, 20%. Earlier in the live, I said 15%. I apologize. That's what it was for 2023. They've increased it. But here's the thing. All the carryovers, a lot of the carryovers are going to use up that 20% capacity. So that's going to become a constraint because the carryovers get priority. Ford has said it very clearly. We're prioritizing building the carryover orders. So if you're if you're a current order for a 23 and you're getting turned into a 24 and you want an XL, that's a-okay. If you're currently an XLT and you want to go down to an XL, I'd still say good for you. You've got a great chance of getting that built. We ordered XLT. We thought the value was there, but if now with the price increases, you're worried, well, if you're carryover, don't. You should get a special offer. But if you didn't order, let's say you did order a 2023, but not within the proper dates, or you didn't get a confirmed order. So if you didn't order between September 15th and September 20th, 2022, you're not getting a special offer. So if that price increase hurts you and doesn't work for you, you could go from an XLT down to an XL. But do know that a lot of that 20% is going to be first reserved for the true carryovers that bought before the sold out declaration that came out end of September 20th. They're like, we're sold out, it's done. But if, let's say, you're October, November, December, January, February, and your dealer is going to give you a priority 10 because you've already been waiting quite a while with a pre-order, you're probably going to fit into that XL, what's available for XLs. However, make sure you order July 17th. Make sure you order July 17th and you get a priority 10. Then I'd say you're safe for an XL. Otherwise, everyone else, play it safe, get an XLT or a Lariat to increase your chances of getting built as a 2024, because there will be no special rebate or price protection going from 2024 to 2025, because this time around, Ford's telling dealers how many Mavericks they're going to get, and they're also telling dealers don't sell more than that, or at least if you sell more than that, notify people that you're now, you're on a kind of a pre-order list for a 2025 and it's almost guaranteed you will not get a 2024. So Ford's telling dealers, be fair, be honest, inform your clients. So much hate on YouTube and towards the manufacturers when most of the time it's really just bad dealers. Almost all of what I watch on YouTube, I can say, I almost scream at my computer. I'm like, no, it's not Toyota, it's not Dodge, it's not Ram, it's not Jeep. The problem is the manufacturer the customer did business with. And unfortunately, at a lot of dealers, you have to be ready for battle when you go to the dealership. And you have to fight to get the right price. And that's why I'm a huge fan of a hybrid model between Tesla's order from the dealer system and Ford's current or Ford, all the traditional dealership systems. I think the perfect system is a mix between both. That the dealership has no power over price because everyone gets the right price, and that puts the power back to the consumer. It means you don't argue and fight with 5 different dealers for 1 to 2 hours at each dealer, burning out the dealer, only encouraging them because some people are really tough bargainers and, really, yell and swear and get rough. And sometimes bargain for an hour, 1 week, a bargain for another hour or two another week, and just keep hounding for price for weeks at end. Well, that only encourages the dealerships to have to say, well, we got to go on. If we're going to get beaten up, we got to go on wearing pads. We got to get ready for battle too. So both parties go in for a battle. It's nasty stuff. I think that those hours wasted should be spent on everyone getting the same price, but you pick the dealer that gives you the best service, the dealer that's factual, smart, helpful, polite, gives you a great service, goes the extra mile. And then, they'll compete for, maybe they'll give you, a bottle of wine and say, take the husband or the wife out to dinner on us. They'll compete for your attention, for your business with quality service. I think we'll all gain from getting price out of the equation. Now, engine production estimated mix. 2.5 liter hybrid engine, 35%. Most of those are going to be going to carryovers. If you're a day one, new order, so July 17th, I think you're safe. If you're a day two, probably safe. I don't know how fast yet these are going to sell out, so I will get back to everyone trying to figure out, looking at data, doing a little bit of rough math, try to figure out where roughly the sellout point was. Last year for the 23, I said if you're day one, day two, you're safe. If you're day three, so, and if you're day four, forget about getting a hybrid. And I think for most dealerships that has turned out to be unbelievably true. It was a very good assessment on my part. I make mistakes, but that time I think I can pat my back. Of course, some people were day four and just randomly got built. These things happen, but generally overall day four hybrid order, you're not getting it. Now it's your turn to get a 24. So now is a good time to stay a hybrid if you're a carryover. Hello, M. Peugeot. Thank you very much for making it to the show. And the poodle is currently sitting on Marie's lap and constantly distracting me by licking my elbow. But we're getting business done. We're getting the business done. Yes, Winston, we're talking about you. He's right. You can see his puff of hair there. Now, EcoBoost engines, they're going to be able to make more of these, and they're going to make more 2024 Ford Mavericks. So currently production for the hybrid is 50% hybrid builds to EcoBoost builds. But what's going to happen is they're going to be able to build a whole lot more Mavericks. So what's going to happen is they're going to be able to build a whole lot more EcoBoost, and probably the battery supply issue is going to be, they're probably predicting it's going to stay similar or be a little bit better. That's why it's sitting at 35% instead of still being a 50-50 mix. They're going to build more Mavericks, but they can only build as many hybrids as they get batteries. Now, recall back in 2021, September 2021, in October 2021, I started pretty consistently saying that I thought we had a hybrid battery issue. Everything was lips tight. There was nothing official, but through deduction and logic, I said it very much makes sense that the hybrid is the issue. We're not getting enough of them. We saw it with the Escape, with her 2022 Escape order that we never ended up getting. So we switched to a Maverick thinking that would go better. But then when I discovered the battery, I was like, so you want an EcoBoost? And I had sold her on the idea of a hybrid, unfortunately, because originally Marie didn't want a Maverick. Then I talked to her and showed her some photos, talked about, the positives, and you're like, I want to buy an EcoBoost. And I was like, well, no, actually for your driving, you do all city. You should get a hybrid. And I sold her on the hybrid. My mistake, because then I sold her so well, she could not be convinced of taking an EcoBoost.
Yeah, it's hard to go back to the fuel.
18 months. So, package option, production estimated mix, Tremor off-road package, 10%. 2023, nowhere near that. So you should be safe. Mind you, my Tremor orders, for whatever reason, I only got one of the 5 or 6 I put in the system. Maybe that's a regional thing. I know Tim Bart's from Long MacArthur Ford got a bunch of Tremors. So we'll see. On paper, you order a Tremor, not a problem. It actually kind of is a good fast track way, quite possibly, of getting a Maverick. Really just EcoBoost is fast track, but not an XL. EcoBoost XLT or EcoBoost Tremor or EcoBoost Lariat, all great ways to get a Maverick quick. And it's still worth the money. There are price increases, but it is still worth the money. The XL's gone up roughly $800. The XLT hybrid option is $1,500. And then if you just want an XLT, it's also gone up roughly $1,500. So the XLT hybrid has gone up pretty much $3,000. Way to save money, get the EcoBoost. Still think it's a fantastic vehicle at the price. Mm-hmm. Everything's gone up in price, unfortunately. The WB makes a really good point, and I agree with him completely. The best resale value is going to be on the XLT, and I completely agree. F-150s, that has always also been the case, year after year, decade after decade. Eric Kizel, you can live vicariously through us because we ordered, I waited 2 weeks and no one ordered a Bronco Raptor. And I kept kind of at work hinting like, I really think the Bronco Raptor is really cool. And, you know, one of the owners kept saying, I don't understand how no one has ordered the Bronco Raptor. And then eventually he was like, you know what? You're kind of like a Raptor guy. It fits who you are. And I was like, I know, I really like the Ranger Raptor. And he's like, well, do you want to order one? And I was like, can I? And he's like, well, it's been, I think it was like 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. He's like, it's been a while. We haven't had anyone ask any questions about it. So yeah, we're getting one. You can have it. And I could have hugged him, but I didn't because he wouldn't have liked that. But yeah, I could have hugged him. Very happy. So if you want a Ranger Raptor, big negotiation is make sure the dealer's being honest with you. The negotiation is just figuring out if the dealer is being honest, because some dealers will, sell 15 when they're only going to get one. So you need to make sure best you can that they're realistic with how long it could take to get one. Now, FX4 package, 10%, shouldn't be an issue. Black appearance package, 10%. I don't know. We'll leave that. I'll comment on that another day, but so far I want the precise list of where. I don't have that on me right now, but I have it somewhere through the notes, and I don't want to make you wait 1 or 2 minutes while I look for it. But I don't think the black appearance package is going to be an issue, but I don't have those numbers directly in front of me. 4K tow package, 20%. We'll see. This year was an issue because at one point because of potential recall. But we'll all have plenty of time to be able to remove 4K. What we won't be able to do, because it will affect the whole people who've got moving forward, it's going to be important for us not to switch from XL to XLT once your 24 order is in. So make sure you get it right, because it's going to change the body code. Changing trims will change the body code, and that looks traditionally changing the body code put you back at the beginning of the list. You lost your spot in line, so it's going to be important to get your order right. But 4K tow package, if you need it, it's not even a question, really. I'd say only get 4K tow package if you need to tow more than 2,000 pounds. Why pay more? Why take the risk of something maybe taking longer if you don't definitely need it? We're fine with your Maverick having 2K. We've got another truck. 2K tow package, 65%. Now, last year there were times where the demand for hitches were much higher than the supply, and they always did go towards first to the packages, because the packages, they're forced to have them. So Ford isn't going to just stop building XLT luxury packages. It has a tow, they're going to send the tow there. So important to keep that in mind. You can Google what the constraints for 2023 were and assume that people are still going to order in the same amounts, the same percentages, but then look over at what the new package production estimated mix is so you can figure out what's the right build for you. And of course, always think what your need is. If you need 4K, who cares if it's how long it's going to take? Order it with the 4K if that's what you need. Now, we're not going to cover, very thorough notes. We're not from Ashtang on Ford Maverick Truck Club. We're not going to cover everything that dealers need to do, but you can go and read that just to make sure your dealer knows what these things are and will be doing these things. Now, of course, your salesman, that's not part of his job. He'll probably should say, maybe he knows, but if he doesn't know, it's okay. Don't beat him up for it. He'll need to talk to his sales manager and be like, do we see OVP? And if the sales manager is like, no, we don't do that, well, then we've got a real problem. So, okay to buy October. They're probably going to start building these, if I recall, in November. So we still have a lot of 2023 production coming up. We still have a lot of people that are going to get assigned 2023s. So what do? You've been waiting already for your 2023 for a while. You're going to put in a 24 if you haven't been scheduled yet. If you haven't been scheduled with a VIN number, you need to put in a 24. And if ever you get a 23 build date, well, then Ford and the dealership are going to remove your 2024. But you need to do the carryover if you haven't been assigned a VIN yet. If you have been assigned a VIN and a build date, a VIN is a vehicle identification number. If you have, then you've got nothing to worry about. Life is good. Now, it's great because this note, locally, we even have every customer sign a sheet that says we can't guarantee you a build. And it's actually, Ford wants it in part of the documents they take in. They want to see that the dealer had the customer sign saying we can't promise you a build date. We can't promise you a price, and that's in case you get switched over to the next year. There's all these, basically, in case your dealership has lied to you horribly, here are the facts. And Ford wants that sheet signed. So there's a lot of YouTube videos beating up on Ford. Ford folks, I can tell you, they're putting every system and check into place that they can to get these, vehicles sold and ordered properly. And people are like, how can, since sometimes people, fair enough, will comment like, well, they assume it's just very easy for Ford to control their dealerships. Remember, folks, these are separate dealerships. And imagine if you're 100% responsible in everything your child did, even your 45-year-old child. Imagine if everything they did was 100% reflected and blamed on you. Well, that's maybe kind of how Ford feels right now. They've got they've got a big family, 3,300 dealerships. That's like 3,300 kids. Some of them are bad. But then YouTube will look at, let's say 10% are bad. Well, YouTube likes to focus on the 10% are bad and kind of really focus and show all the bad stuff that 10% is doing. Well, I'd hate to be a parent that has 10 kids, or even my brother has 10 kids, but let's say you're a parent that had 5 kids. Well, any parent out there that has 5 kids, probably a good percentage of them will say one of them is a real jerk. That's about as much towards swearing as I'm going to get for tonight, but a real jerk. And it's not fair to then blame the parent for everything. That's just sometimes how they turn out. So that's enough kid versus dealership talk, but I think it's not an analogy. I can't remember the term for when you compare in this manner. But, well, I'll use the term incorrectly and say an analogy, even if it's not correct, and say that it's a good analogy for the situation. So July 17th, order banks open up. Really important. Now, Marie, I'm getting looks from you like we've got questions before we move on.
We have a lot of questions about the Maverick, so we can do it quickly. Speaking about July 17, I saw a question. Okay, is pricing for packages and option going to be available on the 17th?
Yes, it will be. It's going to be available apparently July 10th, but wasn't available for this show, so I'm not loving it. I'm really not loving it.
Yeah, it's sad that it's not available.
I really was hoping it'd be available for the show. So Tim Bart's Long MacArthur Ford tomorrow night very well might be covering that really strong possibility. But dealerships will have the pricing guide, and they can give you a copy. If ask for it. That's a big recommendation I can give. Ask for them to give you a copy of the pricing guide. And actually, if you Google tomorrow, let's say probably pretty safely July 14th, Google the order guide and Google 2024 Ford Maverick pricing guide, and someone will have leaked it on the internet. And you can have it in hand, and it'll be very easy to follow with your build how much your total price will be. Because, for example, you're going to go and the pricing guide is going to say, let's say you're looking at an XLT all-wheel drive gas at $30,130. It's going to say that that's the price. And then the luxury package, it's going to say it costs, for example, throwing a number out here, $22.85. 30,130 plus 22.85 is going to give you your total price. It's going to have the price for the hitch. So you'll have all the prices. You take out a calculator if you can add or use a calculator. So that's 99.9% of the people out there. You're going to be very A-okay. It's just going to require a bit of homework to make sure you get the right price. And next Monday night, I hope to be doing a build and price on the computer right here live for you all to show you how I shop vehicles, what to keep in mind, how to not get fooled, how to not make mistakes.
Perfect. We have another question here from Scott Heaton. He says, my build order was number 70, the code. Does that mean I'm the last to be built or even built at all?
So a priority, I believe, your build order number. So if your build order is number 70, it could mean everything and it could mean absolutely nothing. I was going to say if your priority code is number 70, I've never heard of a 70 coming out, and I'd be very worried because you need to be between a 10 and a 19 from the dealer to get built. And if you're a 1 or a 2, great. If you're a 1 or a 2, Ford has decided that you're very special and need to get built immediately. At one point, your Maverick Marie here got priority 1 because Ford got tired of me wondering and asking where her Maverick was. And they're like, let's get this guy off her back.
Yeah, so it's a build order number 70, but it always depends on how many your dealer will...
The manager or the salesperson themselves can decide what their codes are. Now, mine are very logical. Of course, I go from the first letter of my first name and the first letter of my last name. In between those two letters, there are numbers from 01 to 99. When I get to 99, to make sure I don't have any doubles and get confused and call a customer and say, hey, you're getting built, and really it's the other JO2 something or another, I then switch over to, I have a conjoined first name, so then I switch over to my other conjoined name's first letter and then go through all those letters. And then once I've gone through 200 orders, then I feel pretty safe. Well, I don't feel pretty safe. I do the research and make sure I am safe, of course. I go back and I say, you know what, now I'm safe to use from, 2 letters all the way to 50, and I go back and I start it over. So. And then I keep track to make sure that I don't have any doubles in the system.
Perfect. And Eric Kizel wants to know, will my 2023 XL all-wheel drive have a good trade-in value when my 2024 comes in?
Fantastic question. The rest of the show is going to answer that question more adequately, but very simply, supply and demand will dictate that. Now, right now, used prices are going generally down, but 4% decrease on the used market at wholesale is an average. It's very much an average. So, what does an average really mean? Well, it means that in some areas it's not going to apply at all because the true decider of things is supply versus demand. So if ever Mavericks are starting to build up on lots and are available, which would have happened only if people who have ordered decide to all of a sudden not take their Mavericks, and then there aren't people who also want those Mavericks. So being that dealerships have very long waiting lists for Mavericks, I don't see that happening anytime soon. Could the values soften a little? Yes. I told Marie just this weekend I expect Maverick values to soften. And I also had expected them to soften on the Bronco. And that's why my first Bronco I sold because, one, I had it for about 10 months. And I could sell it for more. And I also had to sell it because I had my Lightning that I had ordered show up. So I sold the first one knowing the values probably would go down. Well, 3-4 months later, the values did go down considerably, about $5,000-$6,000. And that's when I sold my second Bronco. And that's just because, well, I can only have so many vehicles. I love vehicles. And, well, anyways, please don't hate me for selling a Bronco. I did realize it was a mistake, and I ordered another one March 30th.
It was too soon.
It was too soon.
Okay, and another question from Eric Kizel too. Should I change my 2023 unbuilt all-wheel drive X64 to an hybrid? What do you think about that?
Okay, so
All-wheel drive FX4 2023
to
an hybrid.
Oh. Well, you're a carryover. And really what I want to ask Ford now is if a carryover switches powertrains, will their spot in line still be reserved? Because I know you can switch from 23 to 24. So far, from what I can tell, you can switch trims, so XL to XLT. But switching powertrains, we're going to have to ask Ford directly if that resets you. Right now, I'm tempted to say no, but I would also remind you that there's a lot of people waiting for their hybrid. So I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend it, and I put it in the category of it's a risk. If you make that switch, it's a risk. If ever Ford decides, well, no, we already have so many hybrids being carried over, let's really first serve all the people who have been waiting for a hybrid from day one. I don't expect really anyone to switch off of a hybrid that currently has a hybrid, because if they watch, our show, if they follow our community or Tim Bartz's community, they know they've got a huge, kind of a huge priority to getting their hybrid built. So will Ford at some point say, you know what, we're going to focus first on the original hybrid orders? Maybe. That's definitely something that I could put as a big maybe, because they have no incentive to switching over. You're kicking me, honey. They have no incentive to switch over because they're prioritized, and they're going to get not a price protection, but a special rebate. So it's in their with the $1,500 increase, it's in their advantage to keep their XLT hybrid, let's say, because it's going to be worth that much more on the resale, because the new XLTs have gone up by $1,500 and the new XLT hybrids have gone up by another $1,500. So really, they're going to get a roughly $3,000 special rebate. Truly worth keeping their order a hybrid.
Perfect. Karen Diaz Romero wants to know, do you think I will be price protect for my 2023 base hybrid Lariat, or will I be charged for those options I didn't want?
Sorry, I'm very visual. Can you?
You won't be able to see it, I guess.
Do you think I will be price protected for my 2023
base hybrid Lariat? Or will I be charged for those options I don't want?
Well, yeah, you're going. That's a fantastic question. You're going to have to live with your window sticker. So your window sticker is going to be what it is. That's guaranteed. From that, you're going to get a special rebate that's going to reduce from that window sticker. And it's going to at least almost certainly cover the price increases from your original build. But are they also going to essentially pay for the luxury package, which is now standard? We'll find out. But I'm almost tempted to say I'd be surprised. It'd be very generous of Ford's part to essentially give you more equipment for free. So that's a fantastic question that I unfortunately cannot guarantee you the answer. I can only speculate that I'll be very surprised if they give you the new equipment for free. Now, come July 17th, your dealership should be able to answer that question. And if they can't on the 17th, well, you're going to have time anyways, because either on July 17th or later on, maybe towards October, they're going to know what your special rebate is. And if your special rebate doesn't cover that new added on equipment, well, you'll have the choice to then, hopefully, you'll have the choice to be able to say, you know what, I'll take an XLT. But changing, hopefully Ford will make a special exception for you, because traditionally changing build codes, changing the vehicle's code meant being put back to the beginning of the line, and changing trims this year does change codes. So that is a great question. You're going to have to definitely, your dealership is going to need to write an email to Ford and wait for an answer, because that is a huge question. I put my money on the fact that they're going to give you, your special offer is going to be in regards to the price increase of just the Lariat. Gosh, that's a tough one. You might actually get really lucky. You know what? I'm going to change my guess. You're going to probably get really lucky, and they're going to say, you know what? Her previous Lariat build was this price. The new Lariat, I'd say there's decent chance you're going to get really, really lucky, and your price protection is going to cover almost the whole amount. I'd say they'll probably basically split it down the middle, and they'll be worth keeping your Lariat, because you're going to get a good portion of that major price increase covered. And it's major now because we're getting a whole lot more equipment.
And a question from RQ do you think there will be any benefits to wait for 2025?
Yes, absolutely. I think we're going to get either a plug-in Maverick front wheel drive, and the reason only front wheel drive, the Escape plug-in front wheel drive, you have to buy the Corsair to have an all-wheel drive model, and there's a big price increase. If they have it for a mid-model refresh as a plug-in all-wheel drive, you'd think they'd have a front wheel drive, and then also you pay more for a plug-in all-wheel drive. I'd say what's most likely is we get an all-wheel drive hybrid for the mid-model refresh. That's pretty safe and easy to do. Going plug-in, will they save it for the whole model refresh coming down the road when the vehicle is between 5 and 8 years old? We'll find out. But I think we're going to get at least one very new exciting powertrain for the mid-model refresh. 1 to 2. I'd say 60% chance we get both of them, but maybe I'm just being a little too hopeful and excited.
Perfect. And from Randy Bruce this time, are Rangers having the same constraint for 2024 as the Maverick? He's going with the XLT Ranger, so he wants to know with the XLT, is it the same thing that could happen?
Despite M. Peugeot making me laugh with his comments about
free
poodle, you'll get a free poodle with your 2025 plug-in Maverick. Love the spirit. I did understand the question, just the saying, yeah, we'll buy 2 Mavericks if that's the case. But I did follow the question, and these constraints from one model to another are never in the same percentages, or I won't say never, almost never, highly unlikely they follow the exact same percentages of constraint. Mind you, I called this back in summer 2021. I said, look, the F-150 bedliner is severely constrained. Spray-in bed liners severely constrained over at GMC, causing delays. It will be a problem for the Maverick. Some people thought I was crazy. Some people subscribe to the channel. So please like and subscribe to the channel. I'm very analytical, and I do really spend hours sometimes analyzing different things, trying to come up with new conclusions, really figure out what's going on in the market. And yes, I'd say the constraints are often similar. Never a guarantee from one to another. And a big part of whether you get your Ranger in a timely manner is going to be your dealership's allocations. If you order a Ford Ranger from my dealership, the waiting list is not long. You're going to get one very quickly. Once they start producing them and giving them to dealerships, you're not going to have, oh boy. There's no one got
heating stuff.
No one got electrocuted, so it wasn't plugged in, so that's good.
Oh, Lily.
Oh, here you go, Pooch. There you go. So, good thing that we had some very generous people in the chat tonight, because it looks like we'll be replacing some wires. So thank you very much. Brandon from Car Questions answered. And prior to that, we also had a few others. So thank you very much for the donations tonight. You can also remind us and say, hey, Johnny, we gave you a donation tonight. How come you didn't mention us a second time?
Yeah, and speaking about him, he wants to know what's your position at Ford?
Yes, that's a great question. So I work as a sales consultant. So I work to give people proper consultations and find the right vehicle, if we have the right vehicle for that person's needs. Over the years, many times I've told people, we don't have the right product for you. What you probably need is this. So, I never want to sell something that, if someone needs to tow 18,000 pounds and they want an F-150, I'm going to tell them that doesn't work. So just one very basic example, or if someone wants to put way too much weight in the box of a truck, I say, well, legally, this is all you can put in. So this isn't the right product for you. So I'm a sales consultant, but our dealership is one of the very few dealerships that is, well, one, it's family owned for the last 60 years. So very good people running that business. And also back, it must be about 25 years ago, they made a co-op to bring more funds into the business and also to implicate the workers more so that they have a vested interest in making sure that things run smoothly, that people are served properly, that people are told the truth, so that people have a reason to come back for, many vehicles. And I heavily invested, the maximum every year for the last decade into the co-op. So I've ended up with not quite 10% in the co-op of the business. So it's a dealership that actually has part of that dealership, a minority share of the dealership is the co-op, so employee owned, but a minority portion. Very good family business for the last 60 years. And even before that, they're at another dealership in our local town. And before that, originally the family started a dealership, a Ford dealership in a smaller town in the 1930s. So imagine back then.
Wow.
Great question.
Yeah. Good. And last question.
Just want to address Car Questions answered. Mentioned that if we ever want him on the channel, so that I tell him he's wrong. Well, I think it'd be great to have a debate, and I don't see debates as negative things. I think how politicians these days do debates, it is a very negative thing because it's name calling, and that's a logical fallacy anyways. When you try to break apart someone's argument by attacking them, if I recall, that's the straw man argument, it's a logical fallacy. It should not be allowed. I think politicians should be disqualified. They should be like in soccer. You get X number of yellow cards and then you get a red card and you're not playing the game. You can come back to the World Cup in 4 years. You've tried to break people's kneecaps. You don't get to play the soccer game. Go home and shut up. Politicians should also be told to go home and shut up when they commit logical fallacies. So it's ad hominem. So thank you very much. I don't recall my college course from 20 years ago now. Yeah, it was 20 years ago that I took my Logic 1 and Logic 2 in college, and then I very rightfully chose to not take it in university as a course. So logical fallacies, you don't build better systems. I think politicians should have debates so that it's, here's my opinion and why. Then the next party says, well, I don't agree with your opinion because here is this data. And then they can say, well, part of my data applies and part of your data applies. Now together, let's come to a consensus to say, you know what, this is the truth and this is what needs to be done.
I really love the comment of Mrs. Car Question Answered. She said, I love to tell Brendan he's wrong, but I can use a break every now and then.
Oh, so you can come and tell me I'm wrong once in a while too, because I won't. Sometimes the data, misinterpreted data, can also lead to an incorrect conclusion, and that's my weakness. I can look at the data too quickly and draw the wrong conclusion, and different conclusions can be drawn from the same data. First of all, you have to agree on what the accurate, true data is. Are our senses correct? Is the data correct? Is it a mix of both? Sometimes our senses are showing us, like in the car issue right now with yards filling up, it does not mean that Ford is going bankrupt or Dodge is going bankrupt, and it doesn't mean they can't sell trucks, because that's not what the data is telling us. But it does show a trend which is very helpful for car shopping, and that trend that it's showing us is that prices, and they have come down, and they're going to continue to come down. However, the big danger is that used prices are coming down too, and they're going to come down. My prediction, they're going to come down faster than new prices. So while new prices are going to come down, they're going to come down. Mrs. Carr questions answered. Haha, I would love to hear someone else tell him he's wrong. I know, but
So funny.
But I want to take some of that heat. It's a guy thing, you know. You see a fellow guy taking heat, and you're like, oh, how can I take a little heat? And I know you're joking, and it wasn't like it's not actual heat, but it's just natural reflex, I guess. Very cool that Mrs. Carr questions answered is here. So yeah,
thank you tonight. The chat is really alive. Thanks to
chat's better than the show, which is pretty cool. So sorry we got cut off there for a minute, Marie.
Yeah.
Sorry, the dog is not chewing on the internet cable.
Watching the wires.
Okay, so let's cut through the next few episodes really quickly.
Yep.
So, BS Busters, also known as Don't Be Fooled. So folks, I don't want anyone getting fooled here. We're going to do a little bit of BS busting, and we're going to have to switch slides now. And, you know, here we're not talking about the Maverick anymore, but we are talking data. So let's get our data sheets out. I think I can probably do this better straight from the internet. And this is a great way to know what's going to be for sale, what should be for sale. And sometimes what should be for sale just means it will be for sale once stubborn people start looking at the facts. And the stubborn people are often dealerships. You know, not necessarily bad dealerships, but I'll put them in the bucket of like the nicest of the bad dealerships. I'd say a bad dealership is a dealership that doesn't adjust their prices quickly enough. You know, I was watching a video from Brandon at Car Questions Answered recently, and he very wisely switched up his car prices before the huge majority of the market because he's smart. He realizes that he is 100% better off taking a small loss now instead of, you know, for the next 3-4 months being hard-headed like most dealerships, paying interest, and we'll talk about how much that interest costs using a fantastic example, but paying that interest and then finally going, we can't sell it. We're going to lose money. And then either lose the original money you would have at the beginning. So let's say you sell it for $2,000 less than what you paid or $3,000 less than what you paid. Depending on the price of the vehicle, maybe it's only $500 less than you paid. But when you're dealing, my dealership deals with a lot of $30,000 to $110,000 used vehicles. So if you have a $40,000 used vehicle and it sits on your lot for 6 months at 10% interest, well, 1 year at 10% interest, you take 40,000 times 0.1 and you get what it costs for a year. So $4,000 in interest. Maybe my math is wrong, and any of the super math people, I'm pretty average, but any of the super math people can correct me. I might be wrong on this, but 1 year would be $4,000 in interest. 6 months on a $40,000 vehicle, you're going to pay $2,000 of interest. So too many dealers are going to sit around, and instead of giving customers what at first will appear like a good deal, because if you're in the first 10, 15, 20% of dealers to correct yourself to the current market, you look like the good guy, and you really are the good guy. Well, good guy, smart guy, good at business, good with numbers, but you're going to get the unit sold, meaning you're going to make a customer happy as long as you recondition your vehicles properly and fix them. So you're going to make a customer happy. You're going to have one more customer that you might sell their next 7 vehicles to. You're probably going to finance the vehicle and get a kickback from the bank. You're going to stop you're going to stop paying interest, and you might sell an extended warranty, rust proofing. Where if you're fair, you're going to make a little bit of money off of, but a reasonable amount. Not to, you don't want to bleed people on these things, because then they might love the dealership until they walk into the finance office. And if they overpay in finance, even if they say yes, sometimes it takes 1 week, sometimes it takes 1 year, and sometimes it's when they go to trade in the vehicle and they're like, well, why is my amount owing so much? And then like, oh, and then the other dealer, or maybe the new salesman goes, oh, well, last time, they might say, well, you have an extended warranty. Looking at the numbers, you probably paid roughly $4,000 for, let's say it's $4,000 for 1 year of extended warranty. That's a very bad price. Then you might lose, obviously you should lose confidence and trust in the first dealership, and then, you're not going to sell an extra 7. So smart dealerships stay ahead of the game and lower prices. Now that's true for both used and new, because most dealerships aren't paying new vehicles from the manufacturers cash. Now these vehicles are declared sold, at least for Ford. I can guarantee and promise you that Ford only declares their vehicles sold when a customer's name is put to that serial number and they've received the contracts signed. That's when Ford declares these vehicles sold. So that's for Ford numbers. So don't be fooled. Ford isn't declaring their vehicles sold just when they send them to their dealership. So Ford isn't just pushing all sorts of vehicles to the dealerships to say, hey, look, we've got an amazing sales. No, sales are when the customers take them. So Ford puts a lot of pressure on the dealerships to get those vehicles sold to a customer's name. So there's a lot of pressure from Ford to get that done, and it even affects their a dealership's allocation. So right now, we want Ford Mavericks, we want Rangers, we especially want Super Duties. How do we get those vehicles? We get more if we turn them over, meaning we sell them to a customer, then we earn. So it's called Turn and Earn. Ford has a program called really Turn and Earn, and it's so simple. They gave it a simple name, so even the worst dealerships with the worst employees can understand that, oh, well, if I turn more, I'll get more, which really is to incentivize. I'm not going to have you say the word. Can you say the word I'm trying to say here? Incentivize. Anyways, it gives them a reason. It encourages them to, maybe not sell over MSRP, sell at the correct price, but sell more, because if you sell more, you get more. So that's what's going on. So don't be fooled on those aspects. So don't be fooled. Where are the numbers at? So the numbers here at Ford, we've got them here. We've just got to find them. Where did I hide those numbers? I guess I'll have to rely on the screenshot I took. So Ford has actually finished Q2, so quarter 2 of 2023. Ford has finished as the most sold company. They're America's #1 brand. And that recalls me, speaking of #1 brand, that means I've got the slide actually right here. So let's head over to Ford Authority. You can also get this from other sources. It's on the Ford Media site as well. So Ford has actually finished #1 sold brand. So they can sell trucks. They are selling trucks. A good portion of those trucks are actually going to fleet sales. And being that they're going to fleet sales have increased because for 2 years, Ford more or less ignored fleet. And in ignoring fleet, that's because they did everything they could to get customers their orders, because these, the F-150 was really backed up with orders. Now there's a ton in the yards. So our senses really tell us. You go to pretty much any Ford yard, and your brain is going to be screaming at you saying, hey, this is pretty obvious. Ford's got a huge problem, because they went from having none available to a lot available. Incentivize. Thank you, M. Peugeot. Incentivize. I need to see it. I'm verbal. If I don't see it in my brain, in my mind, I often can't pronounce the word. I have to be able to see it and to spell it out. I'm dyslexic. So it helps me to see it and look closely at it. So, Ford can sell trucks. It appears like they can't sell trucks. They're not selling nearly as many Mavericks as they need. So, we got Brandon here on the back screen.
Sorry.
From Car Questions Answered. Yeah, Ford's supply and demand for Mavericks is unbelievably high, and they cannot sell nearly as many as they need to. And that's because they can't produce nearly as many as they need to. So the data behind those numbers, just to show you my sources here, we're over at Ford themselves showing us what's going on. And it's not positive for the Maverick for June. June Maverick sales, 6,720. Now that's not something to really go, brag about. Oh, sorry, wrong chart. That's 2022. Because last month for May, they're at 11,500. And for this month, I'm going to have to, I can't believe I pulled up the 22 chart. I'm sorry, folks. That's why I thought June sales for the Maverick were at 6,700. So 2023 Ford Maverick June production numbers. Let's see where they're at. Sales versus production. So I got that horribly wrong, and I'm going to correct it right here. They've got the chart. Correct chart up here for the Ford Maverick. Now let's see. Second quarter, so for the whole quarter, the Maverick sales were at 21,000, Maverick production, sales, 21,021. That's a 7.8% change. Obviously, things are going better for sales for the Ford Maverick because they're producing more. But that's still, that's just for Q2. Year to date, for the Ford Maverick, they're at 42,499. Now in 2022 at this point, they're at 38,753. So from 1 year difference, the percentage change on build on the Maverick is only 9.7%. Let's hope that with 24 production increase, we get more than a 10% increase in builds, because that's not fantastic over 1 year. Now they have and still have microchip issues. Things are getting better, but we actually had a fantastic comment from one of... So don't be fooled when people say that there's absolutely no microchip shortage problem remaining. Don't be fooled. We've got, this is really cool. Thank you so much to F9FCJ429 for writing in, giving us some first-hand news. He's an engineer at a major semiconductor house serving all phases of industry, including the automotive industry. He says, you cannot imagine the hassles and headaches we have gone through over the last 3 years trying to keep the wheels from falling off the train. I am in the same boat as so many others out there, waiting patiently for Ford to put my new Bronco together. Hey, at least Tim Bartz, says two-door demand and capacity are even now. So demand and supply are even for the two-door Bronco. He goes on to say, seriously though, everybody on my team has fought nonstop trying to stay a step ahead of the dreaded line down alerts. You don't put an industry through what ours has just been through and fix it overnight. I cut any manufacturer trying to make anything a lot of slack right now, because I know what happens when the supply lines break in multiple places at once. I'll tell you this though, it's a good time to invest money in warehouses. So he understands that his Maverick is taking a long time because he's in the microchip production industry. And he's said that things that were horrible, and from my understanding, things are better, but not perfect. There are still issues with microchip production, getting the right microchips for the parts that you need. So inventory is going to continue getting better. Production is going to continue to get better with time. when, if ever, production surpasses actual demand, as it has with the F-150, what happens? Rebates come out. So how can you spot a rebate? Well, you can go online and look at what's selling. So that's what we did. And actually, I'll actually take you to the exact site here. We've got it right here. We went to, let's see, this is goodcarbadcar.net, US sales figures. So this is really good because production is going to continue to go up. Production has significantly gone up from 2022 to 2023, and it's still not quite where supply is going to be needed overall, Lily. And just getting my arm licked here by the dog. But where can you spot a really good deal? Well, Alfa Romeo, they're down 26.24% year to date in sales. So while their production has gone up, their sales have gone down. That means Alfa Romeo, expect a deal if you go in now. And if they're not giving a deal now, change dealers. And if you talk to, if you send emails or phone calls to 10 different dealers and they're all saying, it's over MSRP or it is MSRP, wrong. Soon, if they're not doing it already, that's a brand that needs to put rebates out to move metal. And the rebate can either be cash or it can be a percentage. Now, Fiat, down 52%. So Fiat, if you want a Fiat, I don't recommend it. I personally don't think they're reliable. I thought it was the biggest joke seeing Alfa Romeo at the top of the reliability list that we shared last week during the live. Fiat being high, I do not agree with that, but we talked about how they review reliability. I'll put out the mini episode for that, so stay tuned and watch. Subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on any of our content, especially our short, condensed content is more to the point. It's not just us hanging out in the live chat together. But Fiat down 52%, Jeep down 11.8%. So most Jeep models, you should expect a rebate in the form of either better interest rate, so that our industry average for a new vehicle is pretty much 9%. So from Jeep, either expect to get 0 to 3% rebate, or if they have 5-6% rebate, 5 to 9% interest, expect the rebate to be bigger and bigger. If they have 9% interest on a model, expect a huge rebate or just don't consider it at all. Lincoln, down 9%. And guess what? Lincoln's interest rates are really good right now. That's where they're giving you the rebate because they know their sales are down. When their sales go down, what do they want? They need to get sales up. So what do? They give you a better deal. Mitsubishi, Ram, you can expect a deal. Ram trucks, that's how they have always sold vehicles. Don't buy a Ram truck if there's not a huge rebate on it, because that's how they've always done business and that's how they're going to have to go back to doing business. Toyota, don't expect a deal at Toyota. They're down 1%, but they're only down because they don't have enough production. Their production is still negatively impacted and their production is very low compared to their demand. They're only down 1% because they're not producing enough. So Toyota traditionally also has not been a manufacturer that gives out rebates. Their interest rate now is high and they're not giving out rebates. They've pretty much always done business with having okay interest rates and no rebates. Well, now because they have no supply, what are they doing? Well, they have really high interest rates and no rebates because they're actually hoping to cool down demand because their inventory, their days in inventory, basically they have next to no inventory, very, very low inventory, and it's not staying on the lots for a very long period of time. Now, Jeep, a lot of inventory. Ram, a lot of inventory. So, BS Busters. Ford can't sell trucks. Yes, Ford is selling trucks. Ford is, for quarter 2 of 2023, North America's the US's number 1 selling brand. They're number 1. Their numbers are actually very good. So they're still selling trucks, but their inventory has gone up. And because their inventory has gone up, and dealers don't want to be spending money on interest rates. What does this mean? You're either going to be getting, for example, this month on a Ford, you're either going to be getting very low interest, or most areas at the end of the month, they're going to put out a bigger rebate with higher interest. So that will be a time to pay cash. Upcoming $4,000 rebate on trucks, more interest, but if you're paying cash, buy at the end of the month or make your contracts out for the end of the month. If, however, you're looking to finance, well, buy right now. Very low interest compared to the 9% new vehicle average. You're going to come in as low as 1.99% in my area, probably less in certain areas in the States. So sometimes Ford caters their deals to the areas or to the country based on how things are selling in that country. Now, let's just see real quick. So here's an issue with the market overall. Open this up, cover this, pretty important. So news from TD, we've got, if we could just, dog licking me, not helping here. So we've got the light vehicle sales continue to see solid growth in June. Overall, second quarter sales at 4.1 million units. That's up 17.5% year to year, but roughly 8% below 2018-2019 levels. So right now things are, here's how we can misinterpret data. Things are looking pretty good. However, there's two ways to present this information. We can have a big old title that says incredible sales, best time to buy because everyone's buying. More people, so many more people than last year, 17.5% more sales than this time last year. That doesn't mean, however, that it's a good time to buy. Just because everyone's doing something doesn't mean it's a good idea. That's also another logical fallacy, and that's when you assume truth in something because the majority, a certain large group of people are doing it, so it seems like a good decision. It seems like a truth. It's not a truth. Here's the thing. Sales are up 17.5% from last year, but production was down last year. Now production is higher, but overall sales are 8% below 2018-2019 levels. So what this means in the long run is if production goes back to 2018-2019 levels with time, if we continue to see 8% less than what is sales than what occurred in 2018-2019, but the same production, well, it'll take 10 months, and over 10 months, you'd have millions of extra vehicles out there. And if that ever happens, you're going to see better prices, better deals. You'll save thousands because manufacturers will not have dealerships have vehicles on the lots that are 2 years old. That just looks bad. And some of that is already starting to happen in certain areas. I really like what's going on in the chat right now, and I love hearing that people like, not just clickbait titles. Or I don't mind a clickbait. I don't consider a title clickbait if it's like, Ford can't sell trucks, but then you really talk about what's going on. Okay, well, it can appear that they're not selling trucks, but here's the data and figures. I like that. It's a catchy title is fine as long as the content inside isn't incorrect, but different perspectives. So I think and I'd like to give real good credit to Brandon here from Car Questions Answered. I think what he's seeing with F-150s piling up on lots, he's starting to see, not that Ford can't sell trucks right now, because my conclusion from the data is Ford can really sell trucks right now. Sales are great. There's, and we'll get to the exact numbers, but the percentage has greatly increased from last year in truck sales. It's at least 10%. But here's the thing. Production has increased. So there is a difference between production and sales, and that is going to lead to better prices because Ford's not going to accept that they can't sell trucks. That just means that if they kept things exactly as they were 3 months ago, they'd be in real trouble now. So Ford has already adapted to these rising inventories. They want inventories to go back to not what they used to be, but in between. They don't want yards empty. So Toyota having yards empty, that's bad for the manufacturer. But it's also bad because you lose out on certain customers that have to buy something that's actually available. Lily, that's a lot of kisses. Now, all these vehicles starting to build up in lots, Ford wants some of that, but they don't want 360-day inventory. Like we covered earlier in the live, a $40,000 vehicle on a lot for 6 months costs $2,000 in interest roughly if they're having to pay 10% interest. They don't want dealers to have to go through that because slowly a lot of manufacturers, for example, right now at Ford, profit margins are getting cut back a little. The Maverick, not a very profitable vehicle for dealerships, but Ford is telling dealerships, look, you'll have less inventory than 2018, 2019 levels. So what Brandon's seeing is there are vehicles starting to build up on lots. And what I'm seeing from month to month, if we look at 6 months ago, interest rates were higher. And this month we've got 2 promotions going on at Ford, and you can either have much bigger rebate, so either no rebate and 1.99% interest or less depending on the area. Or later this month, most areas are going to get hit up. Many areas will get hit up with a new program, a mini program in the month, where you can have a rebate, but the interest is a little higher, which is amazing if you're a cash buyer or if you pay on a quicker period of time, or if you have a trade-in that's worth thousands of dollars and that you've paid cash. So if you have a $30,000 truck that's paid off, well, you should probably consider going with the higher interest but bigger rebate. Or if you like to switch very often like myself, bigger rebate and a little more interest is fine because I switch it every 6 to 12 months. So we've already seen better rebates. The prices have gotten better over the last 3 months. But this 8% sales being 8% less than what they were in 2018 or 2019 means that manufacturers are either going to produce less and things are going to stay the same. So one option, build 8% less and things stay the same. Same deals, same prices of what we currently have. If you build 20% less, well, then you'll create a scarcity. But if your competitors aren't doing the same thing, well, then you're just going to lose out because people are going to go buy at a different manufacturer. You have to follow the game. So likely what's really going to happen is production is going to stay the same or continue to get a little bit better. And they're going to have to give us rebates in the form of interest rates. But since January 2023, I have been saying that I do expect deals to really start to come out this fall. But don't be fooled. Trade-ins have been, last summer, trade-in values were about 35% higher. In June, trade-in values as well as auction values have gone down by 4%. And I think they're going to go down by about another 10% in the next 2 months. So we're probably going to see maybe 5% better pricing on new vehicles, but we're going to see used vehicles lose another 10, and they've already lost 4. So I'm expecting about 15 to 20% decrease in used car values as we get more new vehicles building up on lots with rebates. So can Dodge, are Dodge and Jeep selling vehicles? Well, let's check the numbers. And just to finish up, TD also mentioned that fleet deliveries accounted for 18% of total sales in June, up from 16% in May, and only slightly below its 2019 average. So saying that Ford's only surviving, GM or Dodge are only surviving because they're sending so many more vehicles to fleet. Yes, they are sending more vehicles to fleet, but they're still not at their 2019 average. So we have to say that the conclusion we can draw is that Ford, GM, and Dodge are not being saved by fleet sales because they're still not giving fleet the same percentage of vehicles that they did back in 2018 or 2019. But they are behind the ball. They are not selling as well as they were in 2018 and 2019 for the month of June. Michael Craig, thank you very much for becoming a member. Really appreciate that. Now, the market still thinks we're going to be selling 15.7 million units for the 2023 year. That's based on what's been sold so far. Now, passenger vehicle sales increased 13% year on year, while sales of light trucks rose 21.7%. So light trucks sales are up. And light trucks accounted for 80% of last month's sales, roughly 2 percentage points above its share of sales in June 2022. So yeah, that's pretty impressive. A lot of people, the news behind that really is that a lot of people are going from cars into SUVs or trucks. No surprise there. It's great having all the available space. So US sales rose 4% month on month. They expect 15.7 million to be sold. So that's impressive. It's a little bit more than what the industry assumes. So that if you want to look into all that, that's the US sales. June 2023 information from Andrew Foran, economist for TD. Now, Ram, we can even look model by model. So you can look at which manufacturers aren't quite making it to kind of assume roughly where you can get a deal, but you can also look straight up at the sales numbers, and anyone who's in the negative is going to have to be doing a deal. But Ram right now, they're in the negative because they traditionally gave huge rebates. We're talking about generally $10,000 to $17,000 in rebates. So if a traditional Ram customer walks into Ram and gets told, we'll give you $5,000, zero rebates, or $5,000 in rebates, they'll probably say, you know what, I usually don't shop Ford or GM, but now I'm going to shop Ford or GM. So I think Ram sales are down because they're still not back to their traditional huge rebates. I think that's also the issue with Jeep. So unless you get a huge rebate at Jeep or Ram, I'd hold out a little bit longer. I think things are going to get a little bit better because they don't have a choice. The Ram is down 8.9. Ram pickup is down 8.95% from last year. And last year, production was cut back significantly. So that's a significant problem, and that's why we can observe that on Ram lots, they've got a whole lot of them. And, I think that's one thumbnail I am really liking. The thumbnails on YouTube that are saying, Ford and GM, actually their sales numbers are pretty darn good, but Ram or Jeep are going out of business. They're not going to go out of business. Not a fan of that thumbnail, but I do like the thumbnail saying they're in trouble. But their trouble is going to be our benefit because that means better prices are to come. Now, I think the problem with catchy titles is some YouTubers will, I want to congratulate, certain YouTubers with, basically 400,000 views, 153,000 views, 137,000 views 13 days ago from Scotty Kilmer. So it's cool to see someone who started a year ago beating out Scotty Kilmer, who's been doing this for who knows how many decades since YouTube came out. The only problem is when we have really catchy titles, here's the issue. You can go to a smaller YouTuber and they can, read the titles, and then they can assume things based from those titles. So I just want to catch this here, and maybe I won't find it. The comment has already been deleted, but basically, because, it's pretty easy. You can go through and read all sorts of different titles from different channels and then kind of piece all those different titles together as fact. So you've got a smaller YouTuber making a video that basically says Ford can't sell any trucks at all, Ford's doomed, they're going to go bankrupt. There is a lot of claims in there, and had the comment not been deleted, I would have enjoyed reading out, the 4 or 5 things that were wrong, that were, incorrectly said in the video, that there's no factual basis to it. There's no data to support it whatsoever. But I guess sometimes, and it wasn't a negative comment, it wasn't a mean comment, it was just a factual comment, but because it went against, it created a debate. It was disagreeing with the message that was being portrayed. Well, it got deleted because that was a comment from today, and 4 months ago was the last comment, 3 months, 4 months, so it's not showing up. So essentially the video very clearly said Ford's going to go bankrupt. They talked about the F-150 Lightning costing $110, $120, $130, even $140,000. Well, it's not very hard to call different dealers. That's not helpful advice. Helpful advice is if a dealer is trying to sell you a Lightning at $140,000, they're crazy, because a certain percentage of customers aren't taking their Lightning orders, and that's true of orders at every manufacturer. There's nothing exciting about that. It's just a fact. Anywhere from 5 to 35% of customers won't take their order when it comes in, because one, it's taking too long, they cooled off and they don't want a new vehicle anymore. They did their finances and budgeting and realized it doesn't fit. They ordered what they want, but they can't afford it. Sometimes the vehicle comes in and they don't pass credit. These are all reasons why these vehicles show up. So a bit of myth busting here, saying that Lightnings are $140,000 and that's why Ford is going to go bankrupt because it's a ripoff and it's just a horrible price for an electric truck, isn't helping anyone out. Helping people out is saying, giving advice like, if a dealer tries to sell you a Lightning over MSRP, don't pay it. They're wild. They're crazy. There are plenty of Lightnings. Most dealers have a few Lightnings that they can sell, and you'll be able to get a Lightning at MSRP. And then further helpful information, instead of saying, this video is truly about 20 different not clickbait titles, but attention-grabbing titles, but just put together and presented as facts. And that's where I have a problem. 15 to 20 titles of other YouTube channels, of big YouTube channels, but he's just pasted together their titles and presented them as facts. And it does not give helpful buyers information. It doesn't save anyone thousands. Really, all it does is, if I only watched YouTube and only negative channels that are just saying all the negative stuff, my conclusion would be, wow, I'm never going to buy a new car. And then I'd probably watch videos on the used market and say, oh boy, I'm not going to buy a used vehicle. I don't think that's helpful. If you're looking for a Lightning or any car, call different dealers. Don't pay over MSRP. Do not pay dealer fees, and don't let them try to tell you have to have an extended warranty. No matter where your credit is at, you're never in a position to have to take an extended warranty to pass credit. Some dealers will pass that, and it's a lie, and it's probably in most areas, and definitely in some areas, illegal to tell a customer that they have to have an extended warranty, otherwise they don't pass the credit, that the banks won't accept them without an extended warranty. That's not the case. Having extended warranty can protect you against unintended, unexpected costs that could potentially, depending on your credit score, generally if you have a really low credit score, having a $3,000-$4,000 repair might mean you can't pay the vehicle for 5 or 6 months. And you repair the vehicle, you will repair it because you need to get to work, but then you won't make the payments, for 5 or 6 months. And then the bank might repossess it. That is one way to maybe say, hey, I think in your situation, an extended warranty would be a really good idea, because I don't think I wonder, and it's always more polite to ask the question, can you handle putting $3,000-$4,000 of repairs into the vehicle, or would you be better off paying more per month for your loan? That's, I think, the better way to present it.
That's true. Sometimes with the warranty, the guaranteed, you're better like that and have nothing to spend and nothing to think about.
So it's tough on YouTube because I think there's a happy compromise between having, it's tough. You need to have catchy titles and thumbnails to get people to click on your video. If you don't have catchy titles and thumbnails, no one clicks on your videos. But I think then the content needs to be, as much as possible, data-driven, as much as possible, because otherwise you'll have, you'll have the AI channels like Velocity, which seem very much AI, just paste together all sorts of whatever it finds on the internet. So Velocity, sometimes you go through a video and I can count 8 or 9 things that are things that are presented as facts. Not this could be the case, but hey, here's a fact and here's a fact. And then there's like 8 or 9 of them where it's like, that's the opposite of the truth. And then you'll have smaller channels as well that'll piece together titles and assume they're the truth and then just push it all forward as the truth as well. So if anyone wants to, but anyways, that's just the same. It's a video that got 52,000 views. But yeah, there's a lot wrong in that video, saying that Ford isn't selling any trucks. Ford Lightnings are $140,000, so that's going to bankrupt Ford. We got to try to stay factual as much as possible. So lots are full, lots are filling up, days in inventory are going up, better prices. You'd think logically they're going to have to give better prices because I doubt they're going to cut back on production. One channel that I particularly find interesting, but not in a good way, was saying that there'll be an 80% price drop. We commented it on one show. I'm sure it had no effect on it, but then the thumbnail got changed to 50% price drop. So that's, sorry, Velocity, or was it Car Chase? There isn't going to be an 80% drop in new car prices. That's not going to happen. Is there going to be a price drop? Likely, very likely, yes, because the data says that there needs to be a price drop. Thank you very much, Outsider Reviews, for suggesting people to give us a subscribe. If you don't like long videos, don't worry, they're not all long. We do cut together these shows. So unfortunately, honey, I'm sorry, but I covered BS Busters and Jeep Ram can't sell vehicles all under one umbrella. Good luck with the editing.
That's
I hope you still love me after all that. I knew when you
switched. And yes, we had an interesting question for a car question answered and Mrs. Car question answered, asking for the percentage fleet, if it's similar now to what it was before COVID, so 2019.
Yeah.
I know you did a research about that.
Yeah, fantastic question. And the fleet sales, it's sort of like the hidden card. If we're playing, let's say, Texas Hold'em, there's going to be 5 cards on the table. Well, when this data comes out, we get all 5 cards, but there's always each player has their hidden 2 cards. Well, manufacturers have fleet sales as their hidden hand, their 2 cards in Texas Hold'em. They know what they're holding, and you really have to go looking for it to really know what's going on. Because let's say Ford would have had 40% increase towards fleet. That means they would have provided a much higher percentage of vehicles to fleet. There'd be a whole lot less F-150s available in the yards, and they could still try to keep those prices high. I think Ford realizes that if they were still, let's say their MSRP plus 9% was what it costs to get an F-150, people would be very frustrated and they'd lose out to the competition. So fleet sales, I finally found the one slide I was looking for earlier. So I'm really happy about this and need to come back because I was, gave approximate numbers. But let's go to direct fleet sales. For fleet sales, I've got that on my TD slide here. So for fleet sales, that's where we can hide stuff and play around with dealer inventory. But often you'll see dealers will have a second side lot, and often that side lot that's full, often those are sold fleet orders. Now, we often don't put our fleet orders on a side lot because they always need a whole bunch of things installed on them. So we actually keep them in the back lot. That makes it look like we're hiding vehicles. We also have another lot for vehicles that we say, well, you know what, these two models are really similar. Put the second one that's almost identical at the second lot.
To leave some space.
But traditionally, our side lot had about 100 vehicles, usually 70, 75 trucks and a few other models. So we usually had about 100 units over on the secondary lot. And then on the back lot, we used to have, at our peak of inventory, we had about 35 to 40 units in the back lot. Right now, we have no new vehicles in the back lot. Wow. And on the secondary lot, we're usually playing around 5 to 10. So inventory is still lower in the trucks. So for the fleet, we've got it right here. Fleet deliveries accounted for 18% of total sales in June, and that's up 16% in May. So it's up because in May is only 16%, so it's up 2%. And it's only slightly below its 2019 average. So in 2019, more vehicles went to fleet. So that's manufacturer's control valve. Too much inventory at dealers for retail customers, send some more to fleet. But when retail customers aren't biting and you've given everything you can to fleet and they're not taking more and you truly have leftovers, well, then you could see, huge sales, but probably be a bit of sales and, production cool off, a bit of a production cool off. So a bit of both. Now, the slide I really want to cover, I talked about this earlier. So what's going on at Ford? This can be its own episode. Wrapping up the show with this. Ford is continuing their sales momentum. They are still number one for sales, the number one sold brand, number one sold in trucks through the second quarter, because they had it for Q1 2023. Now they've got it for Q2 2023. So Ford is America's number one brand, 6 consecutive months in a row. And that's a lot of that has to do with the strength of their pickup sales, vans, commercial vehicles, and the new Escape. So the new Escape, it's flying off the lots. We have 0 Escape inventory. Edge, we just got 5 today. 5 last Friday. I think within a week, they'll be sold.
Wow.
And we had 7, but 2 were pre-sold before even showing up. So the people took that before seeing the vehicle, knowing it was on its way. So the F-Series is America's number one truck, with Q2 sales up 34%. First half sales of F-Series up 27.9%, widening its lead, I guess, over the Silverado by 118 trucks. But GM, Chevy, they don't clump them together. They're each their own. So that's a whole different story right there. Ford electric vehicle sales continue to grow. So the Mustang Mach-E sales pace quickened at the end of Q2, with sales in June up 110% versus last June. So that smaller YouTube, which got 59,000 views on his 3 or 4 minute video saying that Ford can't sell any trucks, they can't sell any electric vehicles, they're completely doomed, they're going to go bankrupt. Really, I sound like I'm being outrageous and exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating. If you don't believe me, watch the video. Let's get this video up to 200,000 views. But electric sales at Ford are up. They're up. They're growing. Locally, I know there are some dealers that have Mach-E's sitting around at their dealers for long periods of time. It'd be easy to assume that Ford, when you see a dealer that's had the same Mach-E on location for, let's say, 200 days, it's easy to assume Ford can't sell Mach-E's. Ford is gonna go bankrupt based on their electric venture. The reality, some areas just don't like electric vehicles, that they're not hungry for them. In my area, all our electric vehicles are sold in advance. And the only way we're going to be getting, where we get those vehicles, only way we get extras is if when the vehicle comes in, person doesn't pass for credit. The budget can't handle it anymore. Thank you, Michael Killstove, 16. Really appreciate the support. John B. Meanstroke, really all the members. That is a fantastic way to support us, and all the tips we received tonight. Truly appreciate it. Very, very kind. So sales are up at Ford. Electric vehicle sales are up. Ford themselves said, look, we're going to lose, I think it was $3 billion in 2023 on the sale of our electric vehicles. But in 2 years, we're going to be making money with the sale of our electric vehicles. So what does this mean? It means they have a planned loss. Just like when the PS4 came out, they lost money for a few years. When the PS3 came out, PlayStation, for those of you that aren't into game consoles, but often a new game console comes out and they lose money for years. But the venture ends up being popular as long as people like the product. And so far, people like the product. Remy Lebeau, thank you very much. Really appreciate, means a lot being clumped in with those huge channels that have been producing fantastic content for years on a regular basis. Now, total Ford truck sales accelerated in Q2. It's up 26.2%, and that's what makes Ford America's #1 selling truck manufacturer this year, outselling GM's combined truck and van sales by 61,000 trucks. Again, I think it's kind of skewed, the data, because I don't think Chevy's truck numbers are in there. Traditionally, they're not in there. They're not clumped together. So a little skewed. But anyways, Ford outsells all of GM in total pickup sales in Q2 with F-Series Ranger and Maverick sales of 246,155 units. I think it's safe to say that Ford likes to compare themselves to GM quite a bit here. Also, Ford has the #1 van. Sales were up 30.1%. The EV van is selling well in some areas. It won't sell well, and it'll sit on the yard for months and months, and who knows, maybe even more than a year. But generally, sales of the EV van are very good. There's demand, and Ford, all manufacturers need a better system. I think there should maybe be, this would cost the manufacturers a lot of money, but there needs to be housing warehouses. And dealerships should get what they need from the warehouse so that what they actually get on the yard in their lots is exactly what their area needs. Some area, the EV truck doesn't work. The EV truck would be a horrible idea in an area with no city centers and no recharge station. Just like earlier in the live, we were saying, our Lightning going down the 95, I don't think would be very convenient. We had a friend, Eric. He took him and his wife and the kids, I'm assuming the kids, got in the Hyundai and wasted an entire day looking for chargers. And they kept constantly only finding 110 volt chargers. Their experience was horrible. He's very frustrated. They love their electric vehicle in Quebec because we have a fantastic charging network. And often when you're not doing, you could long distance drive in Quebec, it's never an issue. Mind you, in the States, long distance driving, especially when there's no major city centers, becomes a real issue. Soon, it will not be an issue because all the Ford dealerships that sell EVs are going to have a fast charger available 24/7. So there's a Ford dealership everywhere. There's about 3,000 in the US, 300 in Canada. That's going to be a fantastic add-on to the electric network. And Ford, soon you can get an adapter, I believe for free, it looks like, from Ford, so you can use Tesla chargers. And second-gen Ford vehicles are going to come equipped with the NACS charger. So that's the Tesla setup, the North American charging standard system. So there'll be one standard, and even the Europeans are starting to adopt it. I believe just recently Mercedes adopted the NACS standard. So sales are up at Ford, and that is pretty much gives us in a nutshell that things aren't all doom and gloom. We're not going to see sales decrease. We're not going to see prices decrease by 50%. We're not going to see prices decrease by 80% unless you're taking the most ridiculous dealership at the peak of over MSRP prices. So let's say 6 months ago, a year ago, and then a year ago, and you compare them with prices that are going to be in 6 months. Then maybe there'll be a 50% difference between the craziest dealership. But on average, prices on the new are probably going to go down anywhere from 1 to 10% on the new, probably 5 or 6% rebates on the new. But we're probably going to see, we've already lost 4%, and most of the market has not reacted in the used. So where can you get a good deal? Well, I'll tell you, you can get a good deal by looking up Ford. Let's say you look up online good dealerships. So I think this was smart. I know Brandon Car Questions answered for his dealership. He lowered prices. He saw that vehicles are costing, and he talked about this in one of his videos. I thought it was fantastic. I really respect what he did. He saw prices going down at the auction. So he knows the market is going to eventually adjust. But why adjust? Why be one of the last dealerships that adjust? Because when you're one of the last dealerships that adjust, you pay more interest for months. And no one is going to look at you and say, hey, they're good guys over there. What great service. I really like their price. You're not going to attract business. So you're going to pay extra interest, and you're going to end up losing out anyways. Why send it back immediately to the auction house? Why not pass the good price, the better rebate on to the customer? So you'll see dealerships. So good dealerships are going to adjust right away. So I'll just give you an example here. So I was looking at a vehicle just recently, clicked on it, and it said, well, I can remember one exactly. It was a Lincoln Aviator. So the Lincoln Aviator has a $3,000 rebate on it. So it was $77,988. Now there's a $3,000 rebate on it. $74,988. Why? Because the dealership wants to adjust to auction prices, to trade-in prices, which have gone down by 4%. They want to adjust to it and be ahead of the game. Gain yourself new clientele, gain the respect of your clientele, because if you have a $3,000 rebate because you're adjusting to the market, well, one, you're being fair because you're going to pay the trade-in less than you would have a month ago. You're going to pay it roughly 4% less than what you would have paid it a month ago. So why not also reduce the new? That way it's a fair price for both the buyer and the seller. And when you have a trade-in, you're both a buyer and a seller. And when you're negotiating with a dealership, remember, you're both a buyer and a seller when you've got a trade-in. So good dealerships are gonna want things to be fair on both sides because they want happy customers, but they also want to move metal because at the end of the day, it's what it is. There's no emotional attachment to the vehicles that you have in your yard. Your emotional attachment is with the customers and making sure you pay the bills. And the right way to pay the bills is to be proactive and reduce prices when they go down. And what I think is really great is also a lot of dealerships, when the used market prices were going up in 2022, vehicles that they had bought 3 months earlier at a lower price, really great dealerships didn't just tack on an extra 15% because over 3 months prices had gone up by 15%. It's just someone walked away with a smoking hot deal. So I will go back and say, well, YouTube was mostly telling people to wait. Of course, the catchy YouTube title. Wait 90 days to buy a car. Get a great deal in 90 days. So all through 2021 and 2022, all sorts of YouTube titles telling people to wait 30, 45, 90 days, 6 months to buy, and they missed the most incredible buying opportunity I have ever seen and most people will ever see, because you had some dealerships with 3-month-old units that were now worth 15% more. So you're getting a 15% discount on the used vehicle you're shopping, or the new vehicle, really, because prices on the new took a long time to go up as well. But you're getting 15% more for your trade. So overall, you're saving 30%. Well, I think, Marie, I know we're past your bedtime. I'm sorry,
Yeah, I
this is
need
the
to go
longest
to
show we've ever
bedtime.
done, and you've worked really hard to keep the dogs under control. Lily only licked my arm for 90% of the live stream, which is pretty decent. And sorry, that's my Bronco that's on the way. And oddly, I've never seen this before, but they made an incorrect window sticker where they said my window sticker price would be $80,570 because they didn't charge me for the leather. And then they came back and realized I took out the window sticker later on. They realized, no, hold on, he's built before July. I think it's July 10th or July 15th build. So they realized they had to charge me for the leather because it's no charge for builds past, it's either July 10th or July 15th that I've covered in a recent live recently. Well, John B. Meanstroke, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I've lost my, starting to lose my voice. So glad so many of you made it this far. I'd say those that made it this far, you're the ones that are epic, because even Marie might be having a little bit of trouble to survive, but you're pregnant, so it's normal,
I
you know.
need to go to bed.
You need to go to bed and get some sleep for that baby, and I'll let you all go to sleep. Thank you so much. If you made it this far, just comment, finisher. Really appreciate you all.
Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you so much. I'll let you sign out, honey.
Yeah, so we wish you more cars and more power, and see you on next Monday. Bye.
Take care, everyone.